Alright, so today we are going to be replacing the inner barrel and bucking on the ASG CZ P09. A couple things you're going to need for this. You're going to need 2 punches, hopefully. So the 2 that I use for this is a 1/8 and a 3/32. And then you also need a Phillips head, screwdriver, and then I highly recommend you use a bench block. So I have just a cheap 1911 one here. And then you also need a hammer as well. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do this. So first off, you got to remove the slide. So you can either pull all the way back and remove the pin, or you can line up these little dash marks here at the back. And then you need to remove the thread protector. And remember, it's righty loosey, lefty tighty. And you may have an O-ring on here. You might need to remove the O-ring for you to be able to remove the entire barrel. I already have my O-ring removed, but yeah. So now we have the guide system. So you need to push forwards, and then you can rock out. And there's 2 washers that are floating in the front of the guide system. There's a rubber one and a metal one. Don't lose them, they are important. And then you can push forwards, and then you can tilt up and then remove the whole barrel assembly. Now we have it this far. What we have to do next is there is a pin that goes through. It's right here. You can see this. It's what rolls on the dropping mechanism of it. That pin needs to come out, and that pin is usually extremely difficult to get out, especially on your first time. So you will need to get a sort of a bench block, so you have a hard surface to drive that pin through and let the pin fall down. So this has a large enough space inside for the pin to fall down into, and it is sturdy. So line it up, and then you want to take the bigger punch. So in my case, that'll be the 1/8. You could go a little bit bigger, but it needs to be big enough that it's bigger than the pin, but small enough that it can kind of squeeze into the area there. And then just make sure before you start driving it that it is lined up with the block so the pin can drop free. And we can start punching it through. So drive it as far as you can with the bigger one. The bigger one will not go through the hole. It'll just get it down to be flush. And then you can grab the smaller one, which is the 3/32, and line it up again. And this will drive it through the hole the rest of the way. Okay. And now it's removed, and we can open it up like so. So I'm going to set this pin off to the side, and this is decently standard, especially when it comes to the KJW ASG pistols. It has a TDC style hop-up system, so it's going to pull straight up and down. It's not going to be like a hook that grabs on around the side to adjust the hop. It's a whole loop that pulls down, so it should be extremely accurate. But over time, your barrel can rip or get worn out, or you may want a little bit more accuracy with a better barrel. So just 2 Phillips heads here, and we can unscrew those. And we can take the top off, and this comes out. This slides off, and this doesn't matter which way. It's like a universal, so it doesn't matter if you flip it around, it'll work just fine. And there is 0 reason to ever take this apart, so I'm not even going to do that in this video. I'm going to leave it together. Bucking is sort of similar to what you would expect. The only issue is this is a non-standard bucking and non-standard inner barrel. If you want to upgrade, you have to get upgrades specific to the P09. Or if you just want to replace it, you need to get the factory replacement parts for it. You cannot use standard Tokyo Marui spec stuff, which is unfortunate, but that is the way it is. So, like as you can see here, this is a standard Tokyo Marui spec, so you can see how vastly different they line up with the cuts. It is just not, it is not even close. So, yeah, it is unfortunate, but that's how it is. We're going to go ahead and put it back together. Okay. Oh, sorry, we need to put this back on. This just slides over the front, and then you kind of shimmy it on top over it. And then once you have the bucking on, it's kind of hard to know which way is up or down. You need to look down the barrel and make sure that you have the cutout is going to be going upwards. So I have that in this case correctly lined up. Okay, and we just screw it back together. And just make sure it's lined up perfectly. The actual chamber itself is usually kind of cheap, so the top is not going to be perfect. And in my case, it definitely is not. But as long as the bottom area lines up perfectly, then you're fine and you're good to go. Now we can drive it back in. And when you put the barrel back in, you need to make sure you may need to wiggle a little bit, because there's a little ledge on the inside of the outer barrel that it can get caught up on. And you just need to line up so that way the hole is exposed. And you're only going to use the bigger punch. So I'm only going to use the 1/8. And basically you're going to hold these together like this, like pinching between your fingers when you get it started. Once it gets decently started, like so, you can just hold on to the punch by itself. You don't have to hold the pin anymore. And basically, we need to drive the pin until it's sticking out of both sides, but doesn't go beyond the actual outer barrel. So it needs to be within the outer barrel on both sides, but it doesn't have to be perfectly even. Okay, so we have it here, so you can see how it's within the outside, and make sure you tilt it, twist it, make sure that even if you twist it, it doesn't go beyond the outer barrel, but in my case it is good. So that's all set up. And then we don't need the bench block anymore. We can just drop this in. And with the recoil system, remember how there's two washers. So one washer is a softer rubber, one washer is a metal. Basically, you need to put the rubber one. The rubber one is going to touch the slide, and then the metal one is going to be on the outside. So it goes slide, rubber, metal is the order, basically. And when you do it, you may need to push this through like so when you get it in there. But that is that. You can go ahead and put it back on. And you do need to make sure that you push the the fire pin reset down when you install this. You can pull the slide back until those little lines match up, or you can pull it much farther back. It's up to you. I am just going to do the half marks, and you do need to put the pin in first before you do it. So put the pin in so it can get lined up properly, and then pull it back till it lines up, and then you can push it in the rest of the way. And that is the entirety of the video. So there's that. Have a nice day. If this video was useful for you, please make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps out a lot. Also, there is a link down below to our Discord server, and this is a Discord server with a bunch of YouTubers that are really awesome, as well as a bunch of viewers like yourself. And you are welcome to join. Have a nice day.